SAP Business One Release 9.0 offers an advanced solution for general ledger account determination, which is a new way to determine your general ledger accounts. You can easily activate this feature under Administration, System Initialization, Company Details, Basic Initialization tab. As you can see, there's an option to check the box Enable Advanced GL Account Determination in SAP Business One 9.0. To access the GL Account Determination window, you simply navigate to Administration, Setup, Financials, GL Account Determination, and then you simply open up the GL Account Determination window. This GL Account Determination window allows you to define your sales, purchasing, inventory, and general accounts that various transactions will be posted to in one central location. There is also a column that highlights any advanced rules which may apply to specific accounts. So let's see a simple example of how to set up this feature and how the applied rules will affect consecutive postings. Please note that this feature applies in the first wave to inventory-related transactions. In the main window, we have all of the default accounts already defined. And now in SAP Business One 9.0, we have the option to define advanced rules within the same window. So let's take the revenue account, for example. The default account is 411, but as we can see, there are two rules that have been defined for revenue. So let's drill down and have a look. The first rule is for transactions where the ship-to country is Canada. And in this case, the revenue will be posted to account 4125 instead of the default account. The second rule applies to items that fall under the item group JB printers. In this case, if we have an item belonging to item group JB printers, the revenue will be posted to 4111. There are other numerous accounts that we can define rules to, but let's concentrate on these two in this example. When it comes to priorities, the primary priority is actually defined in the Determination Criteria window. This means that these rules will be executed depending on the priority that you've listed here. The secondary priority is defined in the rules window itself on the left-hand side. So let's see how this works in practice. Let's open up a sales AR invoice, for example. We're now going to create a sales AR invoice. We're going to select a customer that's actually based in Canada. We're then going to select an item that's part of the item group JB printers, and then we're going to select an item that's not part of the JB printer item group, such as rainbow printers. If we now go to the toolbar and select the Journal Entry Preview magnification option, now we can see what the journal entry would look like. As we can see, all sales revenues will be posted to the 4125 account, as the ship-to address was defined as Canada, and this was the highest ranking rule. Let's close this window and change the customer to a US-based customer. We're now going to select our items again. We're going to select one item from item group JB printers and another item that's not part of the JB printer group. If we now preview the journal entry again, we can see here that the sales revenue has been split across the default domestic revenues account and the JB printer revenue account. And this is because the JB printers rule ranks higher than the default domestic sales revenue account. But for rainbow printers, for example, we have no special rules defined, and therefore the system will use the default sales revenue account for this particular item. So now we have shown you a very simple example of how the Advanced GL Account Determination feature works in SAP Business One Release 9.0. So ensure that you run your business smoothly and more efficiently by learning to accurately configure and implement the Advanced General Ledger Account Determination, which is much more flexible and simple to use in one single point of access. SAP Business One Release 9.0 has the ability to create purchase requisitions, which can be used as a preliminary step to the whole purchasing process. Jason Butler is the General Manager for OEC Computers. His sales team is planning a sales roadshow at the end of the month, and Jason wants to purchase 3 iPads for his sales managers in preparation for their roadshow. To do this, Jason simply creates a purchase request for delivery in time for the roadshow. Jason navigates to the purchasing menu and then selects the purchasing request document. This purchase request will notify the purchasing department of any items he needs to order, the quantity and the time frame in which his sales team needs these items. Jason needs delivery of these iPads by the end of next week, which he indicates in the required date field. He then selects the type of iPads he wants and the required quantity. He can do this by selecting the item description and then types in the required quantity of 3. Jason would also like to be notified as soon as a purchase order or goods receipt purchase order has been created for this request, and he does that by making sure this checkbox is checked. Jason can now add the document to the system. At OEC Computers, any purchase requests over $250 requires management approval. This allows the company to track expenses before they are made in order to remain within their budget. It also creates a paper trail to assist with the audit of any purchases. Jason has now just received a request for document approval. Being the General Manager of OEC Computers, Jason has the authorization to approve this request himself. So Jason enters the request and changes the decision from pending to approved and then submits the request for approval. Once approved, the actual creator of the purchase request will then receive a document generation approval notification in their Message and Alerts overview window. By selecting this, they can then drill directly into the purchase request document, and given the purchase request is still in draft mode, now it's been approved, the creator can submit this document to the system. I am now logged into SAP Business One as Fred Beyer, who is the Purchasing Manager for OEC Computers. Purchase requests save time for the purchasing department because it gives them all the information they need to create a purchase order. Fred now wants to open up the purchase request report to check any outstanding requests for the day. He does this by navigating to the purchasing menu, purchasing reports, and then selects the purchase request report. He ensures that this checkbox is ticked to display all open purchase requests only. We now have visibility of all open purchase requests that need processing. We can also see the latest purchase request that Jason created earlier today. We can also see the item description. We can drill directly down into the purchase request, the required date, the required quantity, and any other relevant information, including the requester name. By right-clicking on the item code, we also have instant access to other information such as the current inventory status, available to promise information, and also things like alternative items for this particular item. If I click on alternative items, I can see that there is an alternative item that's available if this item isn't in stock. Given that the requested date for delivery is next week, Fred is able to create an immediate purchase quotation or purchase order directly from the purchase request report. To do this, he simply selects the item that he would like to create a purchase order or purchase quotation for. He selects the preferred vendor for this particular item, and then he selects the Create button and clicks on Purchase Order. A purchase order has now been automatically created for this particular item. As you can see, there are two other purchase requests for similar items that Fred would like to consolidate into one purchase quotation. He can do this by going to the Purchase Quotation Generation wizard. By navigating to the Purchase Quotation wizard, he can then create a new purchase quotation parameter. He would like to select his purchase quotations based on purchase requests. And in this window, in this step, you've got the option to actually select which items you would like to include in your purchase quotation. We can now actually select the specific line items that we would like to include and their relevant vendors. So here we're going to select our preferred vendor for these items, which happen to be the same vendor. And therefore one purchase quotation will be created for these purchase requests. By clicking Next, we can preview the results of the purchase quotation, and now we've got the option to execute and actually create a purchase quotation for these purchase request items. We now have the ability to drill down to the actual purchase quotation that was created for these particular items. And from there, we can also simply copy to a purchase order or goods receipt purchase order once the purchase quotation is approved. So as you can see, there are two ways to actually execute purchase requests. You can execute them from a purchase request report, or you can actually execute a purchase request from within the purchase quotation wizard by grouping purchase requests together for particular vendors. We are now logged into SAP Business One as Jason Butler, who is immediately presented with a message alert that a purchase order has been created for his purchase request. He can then drill down to his actual purchase request and see that the purchase request is now closed. By right-clicking on the purchase request document, he has the ability to actually open up the relationship map. By doing this, Jason has a full overview of all of the documents that have been created that relate to his purchase request document. He can see that this purchase order has been created. By double-clicking on the document tree, he can then drill directly down into the actual purchase order and confirm the delivery date in which his items will be delivered by. Jason is now confident that his sales team will receive their iPads in time for their sales roadshow. In SAP Business One Release 9.0, purchase requests can be used for both items and services, and this feature is available to all SAP Business One license types. SAP Business One 9.0 has the ability to manage inventory with bin locations embedded in the main business processes supported by Business One. Jason Butler from OEC Computers has received some goods from a supplier and would like to allocate them to the relevant bin location. OEC Computers has a warehouse number 5, and a unique bin location structure. OEC Computers have just received 50 SD memory cards from their supplier CTI Computers. To receipt the goods, Jason is going to create a goods receipt purchase order, which can be found under the purchasing menu, and then selecting goods receipt purchase order. We can then select our vendor details, CTI Computers, and then simply select our item details. We then input the quantity that we've received, and now we have the ability to allocate these goods to a bin location. To do this, we can drill down to the bin location allocation receipt window. In this allocation screen, you can easily select among the defined bin locations which one will receive the 50 SD memory cards. We can drill down to the list of bin locations and select a preferred bin location for these items. This particular bin location can only hold 25 SD memory cards, so therefore we will only allocate 25 to this particular bin. So now we will need to allocate the remaining 25 items to another bin location. This time we will type in the bin location directly. Now we can update our allocation receipt and confirm the allocation. Now we can see that we have allocated the 50 items to their relevant bin locations, and we can finalise the goods receipt purchase order. Well, that concludes this purchase allocation for these items. Jason Butler would now like to review a dynamic report on the company's bin location contents. To do this, he simply navigates to the Inventory menu, Inventory Reports, and selects the bin location contents list. By clicking OK, I'm presented with a list of all of the bin locations with currently stored items, and you can see how many items are in each bin. From here, by selecting the bin locations, I can easily review any inventory postings related to these items by selecting Inventory Posting List. Here I can check that in Warehouse 5, for example, we have the 2 bin allocations for the correct quantities that we have just created. A customer has now just called OEC Computers and would like to purchase 30 SD memory cards, so Jason proceeds to create a sales order for this customer, Parameter Technology. He does this by navigating to the Sales menu and opens up the sales order document. We then select our customer, Parameter Technology, enter a required delivery date and the required item details. And then the required quantity of 30. We can now add this sales order to the system. So now we've just completed a very simple sales order.